with Elissa Carpenter.
Good afternoon. Tense moments at an Alberta courthouse today. A provincial sheriff was shot. The sheriff was escorting two prisoners into the courthouse. A prisoner broke free of the sheriff escorting him, grabbed his gun, and then shot him, fleeing in his vehicle with a fellow prisoner. The pair were picked up a short time later, and RCMP confirm both were from Whitecourt and have been taken back into police custody. The suspects were among those arrested last Thursday in a large drug bust in the community.
This is just a reminder of that very reality. Our law enforcement officers are on the front line dealing with drug dealers and this criminal element of the drug trade every single day.
A Cranbrook man is now facing attempted murder charges after a single shot ripped through a Cranbrook apartment. RCMP say someone shot into a third-floor apartment in this building at around 2:30 Sunday morning. The bullet narrowly missed one of the three people inside, but no one was hurt. RCMP brought a police dog to the scene. The canine was able to track a firearm down and a man hiding nearby. Police say the shooting was not random.
Well, there certainly is a connection between these two people. We're not at liberty at this point to say what that connection is. We don't believe it's organized crime connected at all. It's just a dispute, shall we say, between these two persons.
The suspect's name has not been released yet. He is 47 years old and will appear in court tomorrow. City Police executing a search warrant this afternoon in Lethbridge. The Hazardous Materials Unit and Lethbridge Fire Department on scene as well. They are at a house along the 1900 block of 14th Street South. Police have set up a wide perimeter around the residence and are releasing few details at this time. Teachers have rejected an offer from Alberta's education minister. In a letter to the Alberta Teachers Association, Jeff Johnson proposed a contract to teachers, but what would only if it was signed before the provincial budget is tabled next week. Now, Johnson offered a 4-year deal with a wage freeze for 3% and a 2% raise in the 4th year. Johnson said if teachers approved the deal before the budget, they would also receive a 1% cash incentive in years 3 and 4. But they said no, so the incentives are now off the table. U.S. government cuts will mean fewer Canadians crossing the border for shopping and entertainment.
I wouldn't wait 2 hours in a lineup, no way.
As of this Friday, the United States plans to slash the number of border guards working at crossings. U.S. Secretary of Homeland Security Janet Napolitano says there will be a gradual tapering off over the next few weeks and that lines, procedures, and wait times are going to get longer. It's a cost-saving measure, but many Canadians say they will spend their money on this side of the border rather than wait to cross for a cheaper deal. The race for a new federal Liberal leader now has one less candidate. Toronto technology lawyer George Tkach was one of the 9 people in the running to be the next leader. He has now dropped out and has thrown his support behind Justin Trudeau. He says he believes the frontrunner has what it takes to be Prime Minister. The new leader will be chosen in mid-April. General David Johnston is among the first foreign leaders to meet South Korea's new president. Johnston met Park Geun-hye in Seoul today, one day after her inauguration. Park thanked Canada for our government's concern over nuclear testing in North Korea. Premier Redford says her trip to Washington was well worth it. Redford is now back at the legislature in Edmonton. After a speech to the Edmonton Rotary Club, she said she received positive feedback from the American politicians. She talked about the XL pipeline. Redford says many governors are supportive of Keystone XL, while others still need more information.
22 governors were part of conversations I had this weekend. It was interesting, apart from whether they were Republican or Democratic governors, there was an understanding of what's going on. There was a recognition of the importance of this project.
Redford says many governors are supportive of Keystone XL, while others needed more information. A suspended Lethbridge police officer is being called a hero after he saved a man from a burning vehicle. Constable David Easter and his wife Carly were driving to Calgary when they came across a van that had slid off the icy highway and crashed into a fence. The driver was slumped over the steering wheel while smoke and flames billowed from underneath the vehicle. As Terry Vogt reports, Easter and his wife, who's also a city police officer, rushed to the driver's rescue.
There's something going on and you just act and deal with it.
For Constable Dave Easter and his wife Carly, a trip to Mexico this month was a long overdue honeymoon and a welcome break from a work-related suspension. But while driving to the airport, they came across a vehicle that slid off the icy highway and came to rest against a fence.
We smelled the smoke before we saw the van.
Heat from the exhaust had started the grass on fire. The driver, apparently in shock and not wanting to leave without some important documents, wasn't responding to warnings from the Easters and others who stopped to help.
I ran around to the driver's side of the van and I couldn't get the door open because of the damage and it was up against a fence. And I was yelling to him that he needed to get out of the van and he wasn't responding, he wasn't getting out, and the fire was spreading and getting bigger.
Dave then ran to the passenger side of the van and managed to grab a hold of the driver and pull him out, ignoring warnings to get away before the vehicle exploded.
I don't know if he would have gotten out 2 minutes later, but he wouldn't have had 2 minutes later because that vehicle was fully engulfed.
The windows were popping. The first thing we heard was the big whoomp and the gas tank went, and then the whole interior was on fire.
There was nothing left of the vehicle. It was so hot it even melted the license plate right off.
Fort Macleod RCMP Constable Jason Smith says the driver of the van, a 68-year-old man, was treated for cuts and minor injuries. He says it would have been a much different outcome if the Easters weren't there to pull him out.
Well, the worst case scenario was that he would have burned to death inside the vehicle.
I'm not a hero. I'm not.
Dave says anyone else would have done the same thing in his place, but Carly says her husband's actions were heroic. Both say in that moment they weren't thinking about being police officers, just two people helping a stranger in need. Terry Vogt, CTV News, Lethbridge.
Dory standing by with our first look at the forecast. Dory, the snow will be gone and the temperatures will be back up before we know it.
Absolutely, and the wind will be back with us as well, Elissa. So we're going to be seeing a real improvement in temperatures, starting with 8 degrees tomorrow and working up to double digits by the time we head into closer to the weekend. But I'll have all the details coming up in a couple of minutes.
All right, thanks very much, Dory. Some schools in Lethbridge and area are getting low marks from the Fraser Institute. The annual ranking of Alberta schools was released today. The Institute compiles data including the student population and teacher ratios, socioeconomic factors, and the results of provincial achievement tests to come up with a number out of 659 schools. 2 Lethbridge schools made the top 100, Emmanuel Christian School and St. Patrick's Fine Arts tie for 99th out of 659. Father Leonard Van Time is 240th out of 659. Our Lady of the Assumption is ranked 412th in the province. St. Mary is ranked 547th, and St. Paul just 20 spots from the bottom, 639 out of 659. The highest ranking school in our area, Nanton, in the number 40 spot. Tonight on Farm TV, how scientists, companies, municipalities, and farmers are working to maintain and improve the Oldman River watershed.
The Oldman Watershed Council's vision is a healthy, resilient watershed where people, wildlife, and habitat thrive. We dropped by their 7th annual Holding the Reins Landowners Summit.
We're a not-for-profit organization that is working to maintain and improve the Oldman watershed. And we do that through partnerships, through improving and sharing knowledge, by promoting community action and stewardship, and by doing integrated land and water planning.
The theme of this year's Holding the Reins was fire impacts and stewardship in the watershed. Presentations included the Milk River and Granham Fire and the Lost Creek wildfire impacts in the Oldman headwaters and beyond.
We are concerned and looking at projects along all of the tributaries to the Oldman River, as well as the main stem of the Oldman. And of course, anything that happens on the land impacts the water. So it really is the entire watershed. It's not just the water. Improve water quality, and where there's a win-win for the producer as well as the water.
Farm TV is brought to you by DA Building Systems.
And now let's take a look at your market numbers.